Please like and subscribe. Leon says since that's over, he'll head to the training center. Wrath says he doesn't know when to stop. The other kids look at him with pure disdain. They talk amongst themselves, saying it's impossible and there's no way he held on that long, and surely he cheated. We learned one of the kids is named Crane, who suggests he took some kind of miracle medicine, and he heard the Saint of Rags gave him one a long time ago. Crane says on that note, they need to teach him a lesson. We see Leon being thrown into a tree. He asks why they are doing this. One of the random kids barks at him for cheating with a miracle medicine, and his boy backs him up saying he's using dirty tricks. They tell him not to be scared. They are just here to talk. Crane tells him that these things happen often. Then he goes to punch Lang. And Wrath asks if he's just going to take this, and Leon just clocks Crane in the face, surprising the other kids, and even Wrath. Leon says if they just want to talk, let's talk. Random number 2 punches at him, and he blocks it and kicks him in the stomach. The other kid asks what he's doing, then gets sucked in the face too, and while Crane is down, he kicks in again. Wrath says he's doing well, and it was fun to watch. Then he goes back and hits the other kid in the face again. They fall onto the floor and complain, and Crane apologizes, but Leon puts his feet on his hands, saying before he stops, he has one thing to ask the mass spurn. Was the one who made them do this? Crane says no, and they did this without Burn knowing. He says that's unexpected. He thought he hated him, but he guess he's not that far gone. He assumes he won't go around telling others about their conversation. Leon grabs onto his hair, saying he better avoid him if he doesn't want to have another conversation. Crane says he won't even step on his shadow and apologizes. Lon says if he understood, then off we see Lima watching this, smiling in the background, saying it was nice to watch and that it was like seeing young Glenn. We see that Wrath was satisfied with his actions and increased his agility, but Wrath is confused by this. Laon says he's the one who made it. Wrath says he didn't expect it to be taken away from him, and that he's just stealing it from him. Laon says that is so, and Wrath asks for him to show some gratitude, then says he has an offer for him, and he would like to bet on something. If he wins, he will give him all of the acts, and if he loses, he will accept his rage receipts for him to pass. Trini, and if he wins, he will get a trade option, and he asks about it, to which Wrath tells him he'll be giving one of his traits. Leon then asks what the rage penalty is, and Wrath says he'll just take some raids she possesses, and while it's not a lot, with enough, he won't be able to control himself anymore. Leon recognizes what he's aiming for and says that since he usually behaves, he doesn't believe he's lying, plus the rewards for winning are much greater than the risks. He then accepts the BET, and Wrath says that's a good choice. He says if he utilizes his past life, he will not lose. The next day, we see the kids are all gassed out, and Lemur explains that the horse stance pose is the building block for all martial arts, and he's not forcing them to stain it since they are taking the test, not him. They begin to complain, asking how it helps with swordsmanship. Burn tells them to stop complaining, and they can just go practice swordsmanship. Now that Leon watches them leave, Wrath asks if he'll join them in their swordsmanship practice, and Leon says he doesn't need to, as it's a waste of time to train swordsmanship when you're not trained in the basics, and what he needs now isn't a sword but basic physical strength. His body is weaker than others due to the bitter cold curse, and the basics are the most important since they will build a solid foundation. He doesn't need to feel rushed, so he will just focus on his body for now. We see that while he's doing some exercises, Runen is watching from afar, and she's talking about how the weight he's lifting is increasing daily, and while it's a given you can improve daily, the weight going up daily is nonsense. Then she wonders if he has a different aptitude when training, then wonders how he's so consistent. She starts to approach them, saying there's something about him. She stands before him, and he asks why she is here, but she just stares at him without saying a word. Len asks why she's here, and they continue their awkward stare down. Runin wonders what's making him grow so much. Then she realizes something about Len. She walks past him, sits down, and starts bench pressing. He goes to leave, and she follows him. He goes to curl, and then she continues to follow him. She says it's not her imagination. Ever since she smelled something earlier, her body has felt lighter, which has allowed her to lift heavier weights than usual. When he asks her if she has something to tell him, she says no. Then he begins to walk away, and she decides to follow him for a bit more, which she does. Some other kids enter the training hall and see Runin following Land, then wonder why she is following him. Burns says Lan is wasting his time doing repetitive training. While Lan needs it, he is on a different level than them, and while he doesn't know what the test is, it's better to train swordsmanship for their own martial proficiency, so don't waste time with Land. After a bit, while Lion is still curling, another kid comes up to him and introduces himself as Dorian, asking if he can train with him and that he wants to learn the correct posture. Lan says that's fine, then begins to search through his bag, then hands him a cookie, saying it tastes good. He goes to give it back, then notices that Runin is eyeballing her. She starts making beauty poppy dog eyes, and he hands her the cookie, causing her to munch on it. They then helped Dorian bench press. Then the days start to fly by with them constantly training. It's been around 6 months since they started, and every day he ran until he couldn't anymore, and eventually the backs of everyone he saw while running were no longer there and were replaced by Omi Runin and Burns' book. Eventually, the day of the test came around. We see everyone pulling up and filling out the bleachers of the stadium. Wrath then makes sure Lion remembers the bet they made because, in the end, he was unable to surpass the two of them, so he needs to get ready to take his rage. Land tells him the test is different, so they don't know how it will end. He then spots Dorian cosplaying as Minera. When he goes to comfort him, Rooney pulls out a cookie and tells him to eat it. He says he's fine, and then Burns stares him down, making him wonder why he's around so many weirdos. Sylvia and Helena are watching, and Sylvia feels proud, saying he looks confident and has made friends too. They also discuss how he's lighthearted and has a warm personality. Sylvia smiles, then the mood shifts once Glenn enters, and people are surprised that he's attending. A training ceremony. Even the lemur asks about it, and Glenn says it's an event that chooses the future, so why wouldn't he be here? Lemur says he's more than welcome, and since he's here now, he'll stop wasting time so they can proceed with the test right away. He starts to announce the details of the test, then gives a serious glare and a green or a burst from around him that scares all of the kids. Then he tells them they must make it through his horror, and that is the test he has given them.